Jumper opens with David Rice in Ann Arbor, Michigan, enduring another rough school day while crushing on Millie Harris. To impress her, he gifts a Paris snow globe until Bully Mark snatches it and throws it onto a frozen lake. David dives onto the ice to save it. The surface snaps and he plunges under, starting to drown. Then reality glitches. David suddenly blinks into a library hallway, gasping. He stumbles back to his abusive father, William Rice, but when William storms into his room, David vanishes again and reappears at the library. The truth hits. David can teleport. He tests the ability and learns his jumping spikes with emotion, and he can snap to places he's seen or memorized. With fear and anger boiling over, David uses it to escape home for good. Before disappearing, he quietly returns the snow globe to Millie, who still believes he died. Years later, David is a skilled jumper living off stolen cash. He studies bank layouts, jumps into vaults at night, and takes money without a trace. He buys an apartment, keeps photos as destination anchors, and hops across the world. Then Roland Cox attacks. He leads the Paladins, fanatics who hunt jumpers and want them wiped out. Roland ambushes David in his apartment with electrified weapons and cable traps that disrupt jumping. David barely escapes by jumping into his hidden stash, cutting himself free and vanishing as Roland orders a hunt. Shaken, David returns to Ann Arbor and finds Millie. Trying to act normal, he's confronted by Mark and fights back. To prove he's changed, David jumps Mark into a bank vault and leaves him trapped. He lies to Millie that he got rich through banking, then invites her to Rome. She agrees. In Rome, David breaks into the closed Colosseum until another jumper, Griffin, appears. Griffin warns the Paladins never stop, then battles hunters with brutal rapid jumps and a bat while David runs. David is briefly snagged by a trap, and Griffin saves him, exposing the Paladins' centuries-old war against their kind. Soon after, David and Millie are arrested, and David is stunned when a woman arrives, his long-missing mother, Mary Rice. She frees him and warns him not to drag Millie deeper because the Paladins will use her as bait. David turns to Griffin, who explains the Paladins slaughter families to erase jumpers. David races home, only to find his father has been killed because of the hunt. David and Griffin team up, but the Paladins escalate with tech that reopens a jumper's holes, letting them chase through portals. During a raid, David is captured again, Griffin retaliates with fire, and the fight explodes across locations. Millie is dragged through a rift, and Griffin, furious and unstable, wants to bomb the Paladins, even if it risks her life. David stops him, and the chase ends when David forces Griffin into lethal high-voltage lines. With Griffin gone, David returns for Millie. The Paladins trap him with cables, but David unleashes his biggest jump yet, teleporting a chunk of Millie's house into a city river, then into the same library, collapsing walls and rubble. He defeats Roland, but spares him, jumping him into a vast desert alone. Afterward, David confronts Mary. She admits she was a paladin and left because she couldn't kill her own son once she realized he was a jumper. David and Millie choose the future together, free, aware of the danger, and ready to travel the world as partners. Jumper failed because it feels like a flashy trailer, cool jumps and action, but an undercooked plot, forced romance, and confusing paladins time on Griffin arc, so people didn't connect, even though it made money. The signal opens with a kindness. A boy can't win a claw machine prize until Nick Eastman steps in, gives him $1, and helps him grab the toy. It feels random, until we jump to Nick on a road trip with his best friend Jonah Breck, and Nick's girlfriend, Haley Peterson. They're MIT students, traveling because Haley is moving to California. Nick tries to act fine, but his condition shadows everything. He uses forearm crutches and has muscular dystrophy, and that uncertainty is straining Nick and Haley before the nightmare starts. At a hotel, Nick gets a message from a hacker calling himself Nomad. Nomad has messed with them before, even hitting their school network and getting them in trouble. Nick and Jonah fight back by hacking and tracing, but Nomad's replies aren't normal trash talk, more like personal threats. Then Nomad proves he's watching them live. A webcam turns on without permission, showing a view from behind them like someone is standing nearby. Soon after, Nomad sends a traffic camera photo of their car, saying he can see them anywhere. Haley urges them to stop. Jonah doubts it's just a game. Nick takes the bait anyway, convinced Nomad wants attention and status. When Nick and Jonah trace the signal to Nevada, Haley insists on coming. They reach the coordinates at night and find a rundown house in empty wasteland. Inside, it's mostly bare, but a basement hides server racks, proof someone ran tech there. Before they can make sense of it, chaos erupts. Haley vanishes from the car, dragged away by something unseen. Nick and Jonah rush outside and they're taken too. Nick wakes in a sealed facility where hazmat-suited workers treat him like contamination. He's moved through corridors, restrained, and interrogated by Wallace Damon, the man in charge. Damon claims this wasn't a hacker prank. Nick came into contact with an extraterrestrial biological entity, something alien. Nick can barely move, doesn't know where Jonah and Haley are, and can't explain the missing time. The medical process grows stranger. Damon's team runs verification tests like they're checking what Nick is. Nick spots Haley unconscious in a medical bay and begs to reach her, but they refuse. He also hears Jonah communicating through vents and hidden gaps, warning that something is wrong with their bodies and that they have to escape. When alarms flare, Nick uses the distraction to break out with Haley. That's when the truth hits. Under his bandages, his legs aren't human anymore. They've been replaced by alien tech prosthetics that respond like they're part of him. Nick pushes through tunnels and exits into what looks like the outside world. But the world feels off. People act strangely, information doesn't add up, and help never comes. Eventually, they reunite with Jonah, altered too with arms that are no longer human. Jonah helps them run, fighting soldiers and smashing barriers to buy Nick and Haley time. In the final pursuit, Damon confronts them, and Nick realizes the twist. Damon is Nomad. Damon calls Nick his greatest result, a human will fused with alien technology. Nick refuses to be contained, charges forward and breaks through an invisible boundary, only to learn the truth. He wasn't escaping a normal facility at all. He's bursting into the vast interior of an alien craft. The canyon city outside was an Earth-like environment built inside the ship, and through the glass, Nick sees stars and open space, proof they've been inside a spacecraft, used as test subjects for human-alien integration. It failed because the tone flips hard. Mystery road trip to sci-fi lab nightmare, without enough character payoff, so people left unsatisfied. But the concept of a hacker bait leading into a staged alien containment world with human-alien integration is genuinely strong. Repo Men is set in 2025 where organs, artiforgs, are sold on credit. The Union owns every implant, and if you default, Repo Men repossess it surgically, killing you. Remy, a top repo man marked by a neck tattoo, is introduced mid-job. He ambushes a debtor, drops him with a taser, suits up, and extracts the organ. Then he goes home to suburbia with his wife Carol and their son Peter. At Union HQ, Frank Mercer sells contracts while Remy is told to stay out of sight. In the break room, Raymond Pearl gripes about assignments. Remy's partner Jake Freivod treats repos like a sport. Carol pushes Remy to transfer into sales. At a backyard barbecue, Jake insists on repossessing a client right outside Remy's house. The extraction happens in front of Carol and Peter, and Carol leaves. Remy and Jake raid a debtor nest. Frank praises them and hints at promotion, but Remy wants out. He takes his last run. Jimmy T-Bone, a musician he idolizes. T-Bone on red powder begs to finish a song first. During the repo, Remy's shock/defib unit malfunctions and knocks him out. He wakes in the hospital to the twist. His heart has been replaced with an artiforg. Now Remy is trapped in the debt system he enforced, and Carol locks him out. Back at work, Remy can't cut people open anymore. He freezes mid-extraction, spirals, and Carol shows him the overdue notice on his new heart. The Union will repo him too. Remy can't sell contracts because he can't lie. Remy reconnects with Beth, a bar singer with multiple artiforgs. He detoxes her and hacks Union systems to clear her account, but can't erase everything before Jake catches him. Jake lets him walk, yet Remy becomes wanted. Remy and Beth hide until Raymond takes the contract to hunt them. Remy kills him with a trap, threatens Frank, and learns debts can only be wiped at the Union's central database. At the airport, they're stopped and fight their way out. They go through Asbury, Beth's black market contact, who sends them to Alva, two people, a young anesthetist and a child surgeon. When they return, Asbury has been repoed. Jake confronts Remy and admits the T-Bone accident was rigged. He sabotaged the shock unit, so Remy would fall into debt and stay a repo man. Jake knocks Remy out in a walkway, but Beth drags him free. They're taken to an underground refuge led by Rhodesia, who only trusts Remy after seeing his transplant scar. Remy and Beth choose to destroy the system. On a train, they cross paths with Carol and Peter. Peter tases Carol, and Remy hands his manuscript to his son, telling him to find him someday in Punta del Este. They ambush Frank, steal his car, storm Union HQ, and reach the database, only to find the interface is an organ scanner. To clear accounts, they cut themselves open and scan Remy's heart and each of Beth's organs. Frank and Jake burst in. Frank orders Jake to kill them, but Jake turns, stabs Frank, revives Beth, and plants grenades that destroy the database, freeing all debtors. Final twist: the Punta del Este beach. Victory is Remy's fantasy inside the M5 neural net. He never woke up after Jake knocked him out at Asbury's. Jake paid for Remy's heart and a permanent neural connection, found the manuscript, and publishes it as The Repossession Mambo, while Remy lives forever in a coma dream. Repo Men had a brilliant premise, but it failed because the execution was uneven. Tone and pacing jump around. Characters feel thin, and the twist ending makes it all feel pointless. The fifth wave opens with Cassie Sullivan creeping into a wrecked convenience store, rifle ready, scavenging in a ruined world. Inside, a weak voice begs for help. In the back room, a stranger aims a gun at her. They argue, demanding the other lower their weapon. He lowers his first, says he's injured, and slowly moves a hidden hand. Cassie panics and shoots. Only then does she see he was holding a small crucifix, not a weapon. Her mind snaps back to before, when she was a normal high school girl. At a party, friends tease her about Ben Parrish, the boy she secretly likes. She bumps into him, they share a moment, and she goes home to her father Oliver and little brother Sam. The next day, the news turns unreal. A UFO appears, hanging in the sky for 10 days. Then the invasion hits in waves. The first wave is an electromagnetic pulse that wipes out power and technology. Cars crash, planes fall, and society collapses. The second wave brings disasters, earthquakes and tsunamis that erase coastal cities. The third wave is an engineered flu that kills millions and shatters families. After Cassie's mother dies, Cassie, Oliver, and Sam reach a refugee camp, hoping the military protects them. Instead, Colonel Vosh arrives with tanks and buses and orders a separation. Adults on one side, children on the other. He claims kids must be moved first for safety. Cassie gets Sam onto a bus, but Sam realizes he forgot his teddy bear. Cassie runs back to fetch it, only to hear the buses pulling away. While she's gone, chaos erupts. Cassie returns to find the camp slaughtered and her father dead. With Sam taken and no one left to trust, she grabs a rifle and heads into the wilderness, determined to reach the military base where the kids were sent. At the base, Ben is processed, injected with a tracker, and trained by Sergeant Resnick. The soldiers hand out scanner visors that supposedly reveal the alien threat, parasites hiding inside humans. The kids are taught there's no cure, only elimination. Ben becomes a squad leader, and Sam is held there too. On the road, Cassie is shot and collapses, then wakes in a hidden farmhouse. A young man named Evan Walker says he found her and treated the wound. Cassie wants her gun back and answers. Evan helps her recover, trains her in basic defense, and agrees to guide her toward the base, but Cassie keeps suspecting him. Meanwhile, a tough new recruit called Ringer joins Ben's unit. When Ben's squad is sent on a field test, the truth cracks open. The trackers and visors are a lie. Green doesn't mean alien, it means human. The kids have been tricked into hunting survivors. The real fifth wave isn't monsters in the streets, it's humans turned into weapons. Cassie reaches the base and fights her way inside to find Sam. Evan appears too, badly wounded, and admits the worst secret. He's a sleeper other, built to blend in, but he chose his human side after falling for Cassie. He planted bombs to destroy the base and stop the program. Cassie and Ben reunite, team up, and reach Sam just in time. Vosh escapes as the base explodes behind them. Ringer and Ben's squad pull up in a truck, rescue them, and the survivors regroup, exhausted but alive, knowing the war isn't over and saving the remaining kids is their next fight. It didn't click because it feels like a teen romance, wearing a sci-fi suit with uneven pacing and unclear stakes. But the premise is strong. The waves slowly rewrite humanity into the enemy. Paycheck opens with Michael Jennings, a reverse engineer who takes jobs and then wipes his memory so nothing can leak. On a Nexum contract, lawyer Rita Foster checks him into a facility and says she'll see him in 2 months. Michael works alone in a clean room, tearing down a 3D display, testing parts, and rebuilding it better. At the deadline, he unveils an upgrade. The screen becomes a hologram-style projection. Nexum's team is stunned. He solved in weeks what they couldn't crack for years. Rita celebrates. Then his work memories are reviewed and erased by his friend Shorty, who runs the wipes. Michael takes the paycheck and moves on. Soon, Michael attends an event hosted by his college roommate James Rathrick, now head of Allcom. There he meets Dr. Rachel Porter, a biologist with boundaries who doesn't fall for Michael's blunt charm. Rathrick offers Michael a locked-down 3-year job on Allcom's campus, for stock worth a fortune. Michael hesitates. 3 years is a lot to lose, but signs. At Allcom, Security Chief John Wolf lays down rules. No leaving, no personal items, surveillance. Michael is injected with a marker so the wipe has a clean cutoff. He keeps running into Rachel and their connection grows real. Rathrick introduces physicist William Decker, Michael's partner on the project. Then everything jumps. 3 years later, Michael wakes from the wipe to a different life. His Allcom stock is worth over $90 million, but he's told he signed it away weeks earlier. He's also handed an envelope he supposedly mailed to himself, stuffed with random items, tools, trinkets, and paper scraps. Before he can process it, the FBI grabs him. Agent Dodge accuses him of treason and demands to know what he built. Michael can't explain anything because the wipe erased the last 3 years. During the interrogation, one envelope item triggers chaos, and Michael escapes with his glasses in the envelope. Rathrick tries to run the machine Michael and Decker built, but it won't start and throws an error. Furious, he orders Wolf to hunt Michael down, because Michael is the only person who can unlock or fix it. Now chased by the FBI and Allcom, Michael realizes the envelope isn't random. He must have mailed it to himself on purpose, using knowledge from the future. He contacts Shorty and they connect the dots. A fortune cookie message and numbers point to a device that can predict the future. Michael finds Rachel again. Allcom tries to trick him with a lookalike, but Michael spots it and sticks with the real Rachel. Together, they uncover proof. A stamp hiding microdot images. Future newspaper headlines showing disasters caused by the machine, building toward collapse and war. Michael decides the only safe move is to destroy it. Using the envelope's last clues, Michael and Rachel break into Allcom and reach the lab. Michael fixes the machine just long enough to confirm a prediction of his own death on a catwalk, then rigs a trap. In the final standoff, Rethrick corners them as the FBI storms in. A watch alarm hits on cue, Michael dodges, and the bullet meant for him kills Rethrick instead. Wolf dies as the trap detonates, and the prediction machine is destroyed. Afterward, Michael, Rachel, and Shorty vanish to a quiet life. Michael swears he'll never erase his memories again. When Shorty returns Rachel's birds, Michael remembers the fortune's meaning. He checks under the birdcage and finds his last gift, a $90 million winning lottery ticket. Paycheck failed with because it takes a brilliant Philip K. Dick premise and turns it into generic chases and shootouts with thin characters and messy twists. But the idea, wiping your memory and leaving yourself clues, is genuinely brilliant. Surrogates opens in a future where most people never step outside. They sit in STEM chairs and remotely control surrogate robots. Nearly 98% live this way, so streets look safer, but the Dreads call it a lie. They live in fenced-off zones and follow leader Zaire Powell. One night, a young man goes clubbing in a surrogate, flirting with a woman. In an alley, a hooded rider hits both surrogates with an electrical weapon that burns their eyes and wipes a memory chip. FBI agents Tom Greer and Jennifer Peters arrive and find something impossible. The male surrogate has no registration, and the woman's operator is dead at home, brain destroyed. They learn the other operator is dead too, so the weapon can kill whoever is controlling the machine. Greer goes home and we see his truth. He also lives through a surrogate. He parks it and wakes as his real self. Grieving the son he lost years ago, he tries to reconnect with his wife, Maggie, but she refuses, hiding behind her surrogate and insisting that still being together. The dead operator is Jared Cantor, son of Lionel Cantor, the genius who created surrogate tech and founded Virtual Self Industries, VSI. Lionel was pushed out of his company and lives as a recluse. When Greer and Peters visit him, Lionel realizes the hit was meant for him, not Jared. Jared was using one of Lionel's surrogates, and that mistake got him killed. The agents pressure VSI and the military. An engineer admits parts from military surrogates went missing, yet the Army claims no device should ever harm an operator. They identify the attacker as Miles, a human who refuses surrogates. During a chase, Miles uses the device again, frying police surrogates and nearly killing Greer in a helicopter crash. Greer survives, but his surrogate is destroyed, forcing him to continue in his real body. He enters the Dread Zone, learns Miles has been killed, and gets beaten when he tries questioning Powell. Greer is suspended, but he goes rogue. Meanwhile, a surrogate breaks into Peters' home, murders her, and steals her surrogate body. So Peters later appears at the station, even though the real agent is dead. Greer uncovers a classified VSI military project. The overload weapon was built for war, then canceled after it killed operators. When the military raids the Dread Zone, the twist drops. Powell, the anti-surrogate prophet, is actually a surrogate, and his operator is Lionel Cantor. Using the stolen Peters surrogate, Lionel exposes the truth. Police Chief Andrew Stone hired Miles and tried to eliminate Lionel to protect the surrogate system. Greer confronts Stone, shuts down his surrogate, and steals files, showing Lionel has been funding the Dreads while planning something bigger, erasing surrogates, and forcing humanity to live as humans again. Lionel uploads a virus into the global network to disable every surrogate, calling people inside them already dead. After the upload completes, Lionel kills himself with cyanide. Greer logs into Lionel's surrogate and reaches the final control: stop the virus completely or let it hit only the surrogates. He lets it run, even as an agent shoots the surrogate body he's in. Worldwide, surrogates collapse like mannequins. No humans die, but everyone loses their shells instantly and steps outside. Greer returns home, and Maggie finally meets him face to face. They embrace, and the world, now without surrogates, has to relearn what real life means. Surrogates failed because it was sold like a fast action blockbuster, but the characters feel distant, and the emotional stakes stay thin. Still, the premise is brilliant. People hiding in perfect robot bodies until one weapon forces everyone to face real life again. In Time movie opens in 2169, where humans are engineered to stop aging at 25. From that birthday onward, a glowing clock appears on everyone's forearm, starting at 1 year. Time replaces money. You pay in minutes, earn in hours, and if your clock hits 0, you die instantly. Society is split into time zones. The poor survive in ghettos, while the wealthy live in New Greenwich, immortal. In the ghetto, Will Salas lives with his mother Rachel as prices rise and people drop dead. Will works at a factory with his best friend Burrell, but the company manipulates quotas and pay so workers stay close to timing out. Even with little to spare, Will helps a young girl named Maya, giving her extra time when he can. Rachel warns Will not to get involved in time fights because violence over time ends badly. One night at a bar, Will notices a stranger with a century-plus clock. He is Henry Hamilton, a rich New Greenwich resident who wandered into the ghetto to drink. Will warns him about the Minutemen, criminals who steal time, led by Fortis. Fortis arrives and pressures Henry into a public challenge. Will intervenes, drops one gang member, and helps Henry escape. They hide in a building where Henry admits he is 105 and exhausted. He says the system is built so the poor keep dying, because the rich stay immortal only if time stays scarce. By morning, Henry transfers almost all his time to Will, keeping minutes. Will finds Henry's message, "Don't waste my time," and watches him time out. Cameras catch Will near the scene, and the timekeepers assume Will murdered Henry for his years. Their lead agent, Raymond Leon, launches a manhunt. Will wants to break the system, but tragedy hits first. Rachel can't afford the bus after a fare increase. She runs home with too little time left. Will races to meet her, but she dies in his arms too late. Enraged and carrying Henry's fortune, Will crosses zone barriers, paying tolls to reach New Greenwich. In the rich district, Will draws attention from socialite Sylvia Weiss, daughter of timelender Philippe Weiss. Will gambles at a casino, bets everything, and wins enough to enter Weiss World. At a party, Sylvia senses Will is from the ghetto and their connection grows. When timekeepers track Will through purchases, Leon interrogates him and seizes most of his time. Will escapes by taking Sylvia hostage and fleeing. Their car crashes by the ghetto and Fortis's gang drains Sylvia's clock until Will saves her. With nowhere else to turn, Will and Sylvia start robbing the rich, stealing time and redistributing it, while demanding ransom from Weiss to fund aid for the poor. Weiss refuses, showing how little the elite value everyone else. Will and Sylvia escalate. They hijack a time truck, smash into a time bank, and release capsules of stolen time to the ghetto. As their actions spread, the system raises prices faster. Realizing small robberies won't be enough, they target Weiss's vault and steal 1 million years, then deliver it to Maya so the streets can flood with time. Leon pursues them but forgets to collect his daily time allotment and dies when his clock runs out. Will and Sylvia survive by grabbing time from Leon's vehicle and sharing it. With zones collapsing, people surge across borders toward New Greenwich. The timekeepers retreat, the old order cracks, and Will and Sylvia disappear, continuing to hit bigger banks to keep the system from rebuilding. In Time didn't land because the execution was shaky. Thin characters, uneven pacing, and a predictable plot. But the premise was brilliant. Time as money, class zones, and the rich staying immortal because the poor run out. The island opens with Lincoln 6 Echo waking from a nightmare inside a sealed facility. He and hundreds of residents are told the same truth. The outside world is poisoned, the air is deadly, and only one safe place remains: the island. Life is controlled with tracking bracelets, health routines, strict rules, and measured meals. Their only hope is a lottery that occasionally picks a winner to leave for the island. Lincoln has waited 3 years, but he keeps watching newer residents get selected first. The person he trusts most is Jordan 2 Delta, a woman he secretly meets even though men and women are discouraged from bonding. Lincoln's questions worry Dr. Merrick, the head of the program, especially when Lincoln admits he keeps dreaming about a boat heading toward the island. Merrick orders a routine scan and sends microscopic robots through Lincoln's brain to see why he's changing. Daily work feels suspicious. Residents inject nutrients into tubes without being told where it goes. New arrivals act like children, learning basics as if they were just born. Pregnant women are promised they'll go to the island with their babies after giving birth. Lima 1 Alpha goes into labor and is taken away smiling, sure she's finally earned her reward. Lincoln has already been sneaking into restricted sectors using a borrowed master key, sometimes meeting McCord, a technician deeper in the complex. During one visit, Lincoln finds a living insect. If the outside world is dead, how can a bug exist? He follows it through vents into the medical area and discovers the truth. He sees Lima after childbirth, expecting freedom, only to watch doctors kill her. Her newborn is handed to a wealthy woman who looks exactly like her. Nearby, Starkweather 2 Delta, announced as the latest island winner, is cut open for organ removal. When Starkweather wakes and tries to escape, guards brutally drag him down. Lincoln finally understands. Nobody is being rescued. They're being harvested. The residents are not survivors. They are human clones, grown in pods by Merrick's company for rich clients in the outside world. Those clients keep clones as insurance for organs, replacement body parts, and surrogate pregnancies. The clones are kept compliant with implanted memories and constant conditioning, but Lincoln has started evolving beyond the programming. Realizing Jordan is next to die, Lincoln breaks her out, and they escape. Outside, the shock hits. The world is normal. The island is only a holographic illusion used to control the clones. Merrick hires mercenary Albert Laurent to retrieve them, while Lincoln and Jordan race for answers. With McCord's help, they learn who their sponsors are, but McCord is killed helping them flee. In Los Angeles, Lincoln meets Tom Lincoln, the wealthy man he was cloned from. Tom pretends to help, then betrays him, still wanting Lincoln's organs to extend his own life. Lincoln outsmarts him, and Laurent mistakenly kills the real Tom. Lincoln and Jordan then learn Merrick plans to wipe out any clone showing independent thought. Refusing to abandon the others, they return to the facility. Their endgame is to shut down the hologram and reveal reality. Jordan helps free the selected clones. Laurent turns against Merrick, and Lincoln reaches the control room. After a confrontation, Lincoln kills Merrick and destroys the system projecting the fake island. The illusion collapses, the clones see the truth, and they flood into the open world, free at last, beginning lives that were stolen from them at birth. The island failed because it was sold like generic action, but its real clone conspiracy story was much smarter than the marketing, and the big budget made its box office look weak.